The starry sky was vast, and no one could recognize all the things within it. As for the material of the token, Wang Lin did not delve too deeply, but instead carefully examined its appearance. On the surface of the token, there were some fragmented runes scattered across it. After a moment of contemplation, Wang Lin extended his divine sense and swept through the token. His face immediately revealed an odd expression. Storage. The token contained a unique space, but this space was filled with a purple mist. Though it was like this, it was indeed a storage tool. Inside, there was only one item, a sword. However, this sword was not an immortal sword, but one of the 12 zodiac swords. After a brief moment of thought, Wang Lin deduced that this sword must have originated from the great Luo sword sect member who had been trapped in the mist. As the mist dissipated and the sacrificial token was activated, the sword had somehow been absorbed into the token. With a shift of his thoughts, the sword flew out from the token and struck the ground beside him. After carefully investigating the space within the token, Wang Lin withdrew his divine sense, staring thoughtfully at the token. Aside from the material, this token has no other remarkable features. If I hadn't seen with my own eyes that it was transformed from mist, it would be hard to imagine that this is the very item that Tian Yunzi, Ling Tianho, and the Blood Ancestor fought over. This token is the key to opening the cave mansions. Only when all 4 virtual mansions are unlocked can the final cave mansion's door be opened. According to Yao Shixue, Tian Yunzi and the others are unaware of the existence of the 4th virtual mansion. But the Blood Ancestor knows. The fact that I obtained the token is known to Chunlong and Greedy Wolf, but Chunlong didn't see everything. If I were him, I would certainly believe that the token would eventually be seized by Greedy Wolf. A strange glint flickered in Wang Lin's eyes as he glanced down at the token once more. Without hesitation, he opened his mouth and swallowed it, wrapping it within his primordial spirit. Thunder radiance enveloped it, concealing it from view. Taking a deep breath, Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and looked toward the pitch-black void outside the crack, his face showing bitterness. Even if I have obtained the token, what's the use? I'm trapped here and cannot get out. There's no point in trying teleportation. Even the crafty Greedy Wolf and the others have not used teleportation, which shows there's something unusual about this place. I wonder if I can enter my cave mansion here. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, and he slapped his storage pouch. Immediately, a crystal appeared in his hand. After a long time, Wang Lin sighed, placing the crystal back into his pouch with a bitter smile and muttering to himself, "Can't open it." He fell silent for a moment, then scanned his surroundings. The crack was not large, only a few meters wide, and everything within it could be seen at a glance. After a while, he stood up and approached the crack. The suction from outside was constant, and just a step forward, he could clearly feel his body being faintly pulled. Wang Lin retreated, his gaze flickering. I wonder how the mosquito beast is doing right now? And what about Senior Zhou? How did his battle with Greedy Wolf end? But even if he won, he probably doesn't know I'm here. After all, even with his sword sense, he cannot penetrate this place. He raised his head, staring at the wall of rock above. His body flickered as he attempted earth evasion, trying to enter the rock. However, as soon as he touched the rock, he immediately stopped. After a moment of silence, Wang Lin landed back on the ground and slapped his storage pouch again. A soul banner flew out, and from it, he pulled out a soul essence, tossing it toward the rock. His eyes sharpened as he watched. The soul essence drifted in like smoke, entering the rock. Immediately, Wang Lin's divine sense heard a pained groan. The soul essence seemed to be torn apart inside the rock, instantly splitting into numerous fragments that were sucked downward by a great force. Forbidden Land. Wang Lin's expression darkened further. He sighed deeply and sat cross-legged on the ground, his face clouded with sorrow. After a while, he slapped his storage pouch once more. 3 swords and a severed arm, along with a head, flew out. The 3 swords were all part of the zodiac swords, and together with the one from the token, they represented the snake, horse, rooster, and dog signs. Now, Wang Lin had 7 of the 12 zodiac swords in his possession. The 3 talents sword formation also flew out of his storage pouch and landed nearby. Wang Lin's right hand reached out, and the 7 swords immediately flew toward him, surrounding his body. He exhaled a breath of primordial spirit energy, wrapping the 7 swords within it. Within the primordial spirit energy, there was an additional flash of thunder. Upon touching the swords, bolts of lightning coursed along their blades, and the swords were connected by electric threads, forming a strange sword formation. These 7 swords can form the 7-star sword formation, and with my lightning interweaving them, the power of this formation increases by 1/3. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and focused on refining the swords with his primordial spirit energy. He then turned his attention to the severed arm and head. Both of these contained the primordial spirits of 2 individuals, with Ling Tianho's sword qi sealed within them. Having refined spirits and extracted qi countless times, Wang Lin was quite experienced. He extracted Ling Tianho's sword qi from the 2 primordial spirits, swallowed it, and as before, he felt a dull ache within his primordial spirit that would take some time to heal. But at this moment, after absorbing 2 strikes of sword qi, Wang Lin's primordial spirit not only felt no discomfort, but instead was filled with an incredibly pleasant sensation. He examined himself, but found nothing unusual. With a bitter smile, he muttered to himself, "Can this still be called a primordial spirit?" He patted his storage pouch again, and immediately a sealing orb flew out. The small orb grew larger with the wind, and, by the time it hit the ground, had become half a zhang in size, flashing with countless seals of light. Wang Lin made a hand gesture, pointing forward. The sealing orb cracked open at once, like a blooming flower, revealing a handsome man inside. This person was none other than Du Jian. His eyes were tightly shut, and his face was pale, devoid of blood. After the seal was lifted, he opened his eyes and stared blankly at Wang Lin. For a long time, his hollow pupils slowly regained their focus. But as he briefly inspected his own condition, he immediately realized that his primordial spirit had been sealed. At this moment, he seemed to have become immortal. "Senior brother Du, you can reveal the secret of our master now," Wang Lin said calmly, speaking slowly. Du Jian's face revealed a bitter smile as he gazed at Wang Lin, his expression complicated. After a long silence, he spoke. "Even if I tell you, I'm afraid I won't escape death." Wang Lin glanced at Du Jian, a slight flash of electric light flickering in his eyes. This barely noticeable glimmer was caught by Du Jian, causing his heart to jolt. His face changed, and he pointed at Wang Lin, exclaiming, Your eyes." "Senior brother Du, my patience is limited," Wang Lin said, his gaze returning to normal as he spoke calmly. However, Du Jian seemed not to hear him. A look of shock appeared in his eyes, and he was still recovering from the electric-like light in Wang Lin's gaze. Throughout his life, Du Jian had encountered many cultivators, even meeting several great experts. Cultivators' eyes sometimes carried electric light, which he had seen plenty of times. But these were all the result of the cultivator's own powers, an acquired form of electricity. They were far from the might of the thunder that rips across the sky. But just now, that brief flash of electric light in Wang Lin's eyes made him feel as though he was standing beneath the heavens, looking up at the thunderclaps streaking across the sky, with an overwhelming sense of helplessness against the mighty force of the lightning. Wang Lin frowned. He no longer wasted words. With a swift motion of his right hand, he grabbed Du Jian and stretched toward the rift entrance. As he neared the rift entrance, Du Jian immediately sensed the enormous suction force. With his cultivation, it felt as though his primordial spirit was being sucked out. In a state of panic, he cried out. "Speak," Wang Lin said, his voice calm but commanding. Du Jian's face turned even paler, as the shadow of death instantly enveloped his body. Wang Lin's expression remained impassive, still holding him, extending a little further toward the rift entrance. At that moment, Du Jian felt as though the suction from the rift had intensified tenfold. His primordial spirit, at that instant, was being pulled out from his body. No matter how hard he struggled, it couldn't stop the slow extraction. I'll speak. Du Jian trembled, his voice cracking as he shouted. Wang Lin released his right hand and tossed Du Jian aside, casting a cold gaze in his direction. Du Jian's body shivered lightly as his primordial spirit gradually returned to his body. There was a flicker of fear in his eyes as he said, "I'll tell you everything I know, But you must promise me you won't kill me. Wang Lin spoke indifferently. I won't kill you. You have another use to me. Du Jian took a deep breath and, looking at Wang Lin with complexity in his eyes, said, Swear it, by your Tao heart. Wang Lin furrowed his brows, staring coldly at Du Jian. He slowly raised his right hand, about to grab him and throw him back into the rift. Du Jian's body trembled. He quickly said, I saw Master swallow Xun'er. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. His gaze locked onto Du Jian without a word. It wasn't what I saw with my own eyes, but rather something a mountain spirit saw. After I entered the Tianyun sect, I was cultivating a method that allowed me to absorb spiritual power from certain strange beasts. By chance, I found a mountain spirit whose lifespan was near its end. When I absorbed its spiritual energy, for some unknown reason, I also drew out some of its memories. In those memories, there was a scene from long ago, where Master swallowed Xun'er. Wang Lin's heart shook. In that memory, the mountain spirit recalled that Xun'er fought with Master, but in the end, Master used his divine power and swallowed him whole before leaving. Du Jian quickly explained. This had been his greatest secret. When he first saw this memory, he was deeply shaken. A sense of fear had lingered within him ever since. To this day, he had both respected and feared Tianyunzi, and this secret had been buried deep within his heart. This was the first time he was sharing it with someone. What was Master's expression at that time? Wang Lin asked. Well, it seemed like there was some regret, maybe regret. Du Jian recalled carefully, hesitating. Then it seemed he remembered something else, and added. But something was strange in the mountain spirit's memory. I've never seen Master wear gray clothes. Wang Lin's eyes suddenly gleamed with sharp light. He fixed his gaze on Du Jian, speaking slowly. Are you sure? He was wearing gray clothes. Du Jian nodded and said, Yes, it was gray clothes. Master, the secrets you carry are truly many. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with a cold glint. So many secrets make me uneasy. This destiny star can no longer be stayed on. If I remain here, I fear that not only will I uncover Master's secrets, but I may also be swallowed up in the process. Wang Lin took a deep breath, finally making up his mind to leave Destiny's Star as quickly as possible. Once we leave this land of demonic spirits, I will merge with my true self and depart. The waters of Destiny's Star are too deep, a place where I cannot exist. Wang Lin's gaze flickered, and he looked around, sighing. Whether I can leave this forbidden land is still uncertain. After revealing his greatest secret, Du Jian remained cautiously eyeing Wang Lin. The latter's expression shifted slightly, clearly reflecting on what had just been said. Du Jian breathed a sigh of relief. His greatest worry was that Wang Lin wouldn't believe him, given how bizarre the situation was. His gaze turned to the rift entrance, confusion creeping into his heart. Where exactly is this place? Du Jian's eyes locked onto the rift entrance, a flash of lingering fear crossing his face. The earlier scene had shaken him to his core. The sensation of his essence being forcibly extracted from his body was something he would never forget. He looked again at the 7 swords floating above, their surfaces glowing with Wang Lin's essence energy, lightning crackling between the blades. This must be Wang Lin's secret cave. This person is ruthless and unyielding. I can't afford to sit idle here. It's a shame my cultivation is insufficient. If only I could reach the peak. Du Jian's cultivation was already on the verge of reaching the peak, but he had always been too afraid to take that final step, unwilling to face the risk of life and death. But now, faced with danger, he gritted his teeth. His essence was sealed, but with the energy from the peak, he was confident he could break through. Reaching the peak is my only chance of survival. If I can't make it, I'll die? Instead of waiting to die here, I might as well take a gamble. Du Jian's eyes burned with determination. Such a determined look was rare for him. But just as he was about to make his move, Wang Lin's icy gaze was like a bucket of cold water, dousing his resolve completely. Wang Lin raised his right hand, and the 7 swords hovering in midair turned into streaks of sword light, falling into his hand. He then placed them into his storage pouch. Wang Lin. Du Jian's pupils contracted. I'll give you a chance. You can try to reach the peak. If you succeed, I'll offer you a great fortune. Wang Lin said flatly. Du Jian remained silent, not asking about the fortune. At this moment, his mind was clear. He knew that no matter what, Wang Lin would not let him leave. After a long pause, he stared at Wang Lin and said, "A gentleman's word." Wang Lin nodded but said nothing. Du Jian suddenly closed his eyes. Wang Lin's cultivation was far higher than his, and killing him would be far too easy. There was no need for all this trouble. Though he still harbored some doubts, life and death were at stake, leaving him no time to ponder further. "I'll take the gamble." Du Jian took a deep breath, gathered his spirit, and stepped into the realm of his complete concept. Slowly, a surge of heaven and earth primordial energy began to emanate from his body. The energy grew denser and easily shattered the seal placed over Wang Lin's essence. Wang Lin's gaze sharpened as he observed Du Jian, his eyes reflecting deep thought. The reason he had encouraged Du Jian to reach the peak was to increase the chances of success for the Immortal Guard. Wang Lin had not forgotten the description on the jade slip. In fact, from the moment he sealed Du Jian and threw him into his storage pouch, he had already decided to refine him into a low-tier Immortal Guard. The chances of success were low, but if successful, Du Jian would become a master nearly at the late stage of the peak, a powerful figure on the brink of entering the yin-yang deficiency and fulfillment realm. This was a tempting prospect for Wang Lin. Moreover, the jade slip had described several divine abilities that only Immortal Guards could wield, and they were truly astonishing. If Du Jian had not actively provoked him, Wang Lin wouldn't have bothered capturing him to refine into an Immortal Guard. But since Du Jian harbored intentions to kill him, Wang Lin's personality wouldn't allow for mercy. If you fail to reach the peak and die in your pursuit, it would be a death well earned, befitting a cultivator's life. But if you succeed, I'll grant you a heaven-sent opportunity. As for whether you succeed, that depends on your luck. Du Jian's attempt to reach the peak was a process of aligning with the heavenly Tao, unlike Wang Lin's reverse cultivation that caused changes in heaven and earth. As time passed, the primordial energy surrounding Du Jian grew denser. His essence spirit even began to float outside his body, merging with the energy. An hour had already passed, but Du Jian's essence spirit still showed no signs of imbalance. This sight made Wang Lin's eyes brighten. The fusion of Du Jian's essence spirit continued for 3 days. Finally, at the moment when the energy completely merged with his essence spirit, a tremor appeared, instantly sparking a fire of primordial energy. This fire seemed poised to devour his entire essence spirit. Du Jian's face revealed a painful struggle. Wang Lin furrowed his brows, watching as Du Jian's primordial spirit was about to be completely consumed by the primordial chi flame and turned to ashes. Wang Lin stepped forward, and without hesitation, his right hand plunged directly into Du Jian's primordial spirit. At the moment his hand entered, the primordial chi flame seemed to find a vent, wildly rushing into Wang Lin's body, heading straight for his primordial spirit. In an instant, Wang Lin's primordial spirit was engulfed by the primordial chi flame, but it wasn't refined. On the contrary, his primordial spirit even showed an expression of extreme comfort. As Wang Lin's primordial spirit stirred, massive bolts of lightning erupted from within, weaving through the primordial chi flame, creating a stunning scene of thunder and fire intertwining. At the same time, Wang Lin's primordial spirit sucked in deeply, pulling all the thunder and fire into his body, vanishing without a trace. Even his right hand showed a suction force, drawing in the primordial chi flame from Du Jian's body. It wasn't until Du Jian's primordial spirit was no longer in danger of being burned that Wang Lin quickly withdrew his hand, stepped back a few paces, and began circulating his primordial spirit to absorb the remaining primordial chi flame. Du Jian's primordial spirit seemed weakened, slowly merging with the remaining heavenly and earthly primordial energy. His chi had dwindled too much, and even if he succeeded in fusion and reached the peak of cultivation, he would be forever stuck at the early stages of this realm unless another opportunity arose to restore his chi. Time passed, and more than 10 days later, in this rift, Du Jian's primordial spirit fully fused with the energy. A powerful aura of peak cultivation instantly spread, and his primordial spirit gradually returned to his body. In the blink of an eye, Du Jian opened his eyes, his gaze filled with complex emotions. He now fully understood the scene at the peak of cultivation. He should have failed, but someone had saved him. His mind was spinning, thousands of thoughts racing through it. After a long while, Du Jian sighed deeply. Although he had reached the peak of cultivation, he was the weakest among them. Faced with Wang Lin, he had no strength to resist. "You? What kind of fortune do you intend to bestow upon me?" Du Jian now had extremely complex feelings towards Wang Lin: hatred, gratitude, and above all, regret and fear. Wang Lin spoke slowly, his tone calm. "Refining the body, transforming the primordial spirit, using secret techniques to forge it. This gives you a chance to reach the peak of cultivation and step into the dual realm of yin and yang." Du Jian's heart skipped a beat, and he bitterly said, "Such a technique defies the heavens. The failure rate must be incredibly high. All right, I'll ask just one thing. Will my consciousness be preserved?" Wang Lin's gaze deepened. "In 1,000 years, if you don't die, I'll grant you freedom." The process of refining an immortal guard required the one being refined to not resist in the slightest. Otherwise, the process would fail instantly. Many of the immortal guards from the time of the immortal Emperor Qinglin had been chosen for their loyalty to him. In exchange, they gained greater cultivation. Wang Lin was employing the same method as the immortal emperor used back then. Du Jian gritted his teeth, looking at Wang Lin before nodding. He knew his fate was sealed. If he resisted or refused, he would die immediately. He had no choice but to take this gamble. Gambling on the success of the refinement. Gambling that he could endure another 1,000 years. Wang Lin stopped speaking. His hands formed a seal, his immortal power circulating. In an instant, an imprint filled with immortal intent appeared on his hands. With a single slap, he pressed it to Du Jian's forehead. Du Jian trembled, closing his eyes and standing motionless. Wang Lin's face grew serious. The steps for refining an immortal guard were complex, and any mistake in the process would lead to failure. Even without mistakes, the chances of success were low. Yet, Wang Lin had no other choice. He had to take the risk. His intense desire to create an immortal guard stemmed from a special divine art contained within the Jade Slip, an art that only immortal guards could wield. It could help him, offering a chance to escape this place. "If it fails, I will have no choice but to try with Yao Shishue," Wang Lin muttered, releasing a burst of primordial spirit energy. It transformed into countless runes that fell upon Du Jian's body. The first step of refining an immortal guard was to strengthen the body, making it indestructible by normal magical artifacts. Wang Lin had thought of the ancient gods when he saw this in the Jade Slip. The second step was to refine the primordial spirit, breaking it apart and grinding it down with special methods, even at the cost of destruction, causing it to expand and merge with the body, leaving the body without spirit, but the spirit still intact. The third step involved refining the internal organs, withering them so they no longer absorbed immortal energy, cutting off all the body's senses and eliminating pain. The goal was to extinguish the divine sense while retaining spiritual intelligence, transforming the immortal guard into a puppet, one with immense physical strength, no emotions, no senses. Even if its head were severed or its body shattered, it would never show a hint of reaction. This was the immortal guard. Immortal Emperor Qinglin had crafted a human artifact in imitation of the ancient gods. Like clouds swirling and mist dispersing, the figure was finally revealed once the spirit chi had completely dissipated. A scrawny silhouette emerged, exuding an intense and bone-chilling cold aura that spread outward. The figure's skin was pale, as if drained of all blood, and indeed, it was. Every drop of blood in his body had transformed, fused into his muscles and bones. Wang Lin's expression was grim as he let out a sigh. Another failure. In this first step of body refinement, Wang Lin had failed more times than he could count over the past several months. Fortunately, the Jade Slip had noted that even if this initial step failed, the one being refined wouldn't disintegrate. Staring at the puppet before him, Wang Lin furrowed his brow. According to the Jade Slip, various materials had to be integrated into the refinement process so that they would merge with the flesh. Only then could the first step be completed. Gold, silver, copper, and iron, 4 levels of strength. Right now, I haven't even reached the level of an iron immortal guard. After a moment of silence, Wang Lin slapped his storage pouch, and a large number of low-grade magical artifacts flew out. These were items Wang Lin had little use for in the past, but had felt reluctant to discard. I may not have the raw materials, but I do have magical artifacts. If I melt them down and merge them into this puppet, it might produce some results. His eyes gleamed as he quickly formed a hand seal, releasing a flame to engulf the artifacts. The fire blazed. Several of the artifacts melted at once, and eventually, nearly all of them turned into liquid, coalescing into a fist-sized orb that emitted a dark, black luster. After a brief moment of contemplation, Wang Lin sent his divine sense into the storage pouch and began another search. More artifacts flew out, merging into the orb. This became, in effect, a massive cleanup of his pouch. Over these 800 years, his storage pouch had become cluttered with a wide variety of items. Most of them he had used only a few times before discarding them, as they had lost their effectiveness with his advancing cultivation. One by one, the artifacts flew out and were cast into the orb. Then, a blue rose suddenly appeared in Wang Lin's hand. Gazing at it, a fiery red figure seemed to flicker before his eyes. He hesitated briefly, then put the rose away and chose another artifact to toss into the orb. This process lasted for several days. The great purge of his storage pouch saw a massive number of low, mid, and even high-grade artifacts refined into liquid. As a result, the orb floating before him took on a prismatic hue, gleaming with brilliant, shifting colors. With a motion of his right hand, Wang Lin grabbed the liquid orb and slapped it onto the puppet's body, beginning a new round of refinement. Time passed in a flash. 2 months went by. On this day, a yellow glow burst forth from the puppet's body, instantly illuminating the interior of the rift. Wang Lin opened his eyes from his meditative state, weariness in his expression. He stared at the golden light on the puppet's body, disappointment flashing in his gaze. Copper-grade strength, barely usable, I suppose. Although the first step of creating the immortal guard was now complete, the second step, grinding away the essence spirit, was far more treacherous. A single failure would doom the entire refinement, and the body could no longer be possessed or reused to refine another essence spirit. Wang Lin took a deep breath, and a rare trace of hesitation appeared in his eyes. He looked toward the outside of the rift. For more than half a year now, the suction force outside had not relented. In fact, it seemed to be growing stronger. Clenching his teeth, Wang Lin slapped his storage pouch. The soul banner flew out immediately. With a flick of his hand, a massive head appeared on the fabric of the banner. The head was hazy and insubstantial, swaying as if it were floating. It was a dark greenish-black, bald, and ghostly. Its eyes, though illusory, shone with chilling light as if they were tangible. Suspended within the soul banner, it locked eyes with Wang Lin, letting out a low, guttural snarl. Most of the souls within the soul banner kept their distance from this head, as if terrified to approach. As a result, it occupied a domain of its own within the banner. Only the Qilin was different. Since devouring vast quantities of immortal provisions, its body had undergone a series of strange transformations. Now, upon hearing the head snarl, the Qilin responded with a low growl of its own. Their eyes met, and neither backed down. Snarls and flashes of ferocity filled the air between them. This head was none other than the heavenly ghost. Wang Lin's gaze sharpened as he fixed his eyes on the heavenly ghost. He raised his right hand and made a grasping motion toward the soul banner. In an instant, the ghost was forcibly yanked out. The heavenly ghost was a malevolent and dangerous entity. If Wang Lin hadn't caught it during its weakest moment, before it had a chance to recover, he would never have subdued it. Now, as the ghost howled in Wang Lin's grip, it opened its gaping maw to swallow him. But Wang Lin's eyes flashed coldly, and he let out a snort. A mark he had left inside the ghost suddenly pulsed, instantly disrupting the ghost's form. Forced to retreat, the heavenly ghost glared at Wang Lin, growling low and unrelenting. The puppet's body strength wasn't enough, and its primordial spirit would struggle to survive the second step of refinement. But I added this heavenly ghost to it, drawing on its ferocity and stealing its ethereal body. In this way, if it still fails, then there's no point in refining this immortal guard. Wang Lin acted decisively. He pressed the heavenly ghost into the puppet's forehead, sealing it. Since I'm refining it, I'll create a perfect puppet. If it's only for reaching the peak of late-stage perfection, how can I justify these magical artifacts and a heavenly ghost? Wang Lin's eyes flashed with coldness. His left hand formed a seal, and with a tap on the forehead, a streak of lightning shot out, carrying fiery energy. He flicked it, and the energy surged into the puppet's body. Refine. The heavenly ghost was highly violent, naturally unwilling to be sealed inside the puppet to assist Wang Lin in his refinement. As it roared, it tried to break free, but Wang Lin's right hand immediately produced a whip and lashed forward. With a sharp crack, the heavenly ghost screamed in agony. It cursed inwardly. This whip was the very thing that restrained it. If it weren't for the deepening imprint of the scattered demon soul on Wang Lin, he would have used it as his second primordial spirit for nurturing. However, throwing it into the scattered demon soul would be a bit troublesome to control, so using the heavenly ghost was more energy efficient. Months passed, and under Wang Lin's constant refinement, the heavenly ghost inside the puppet fused with Du Jian's primordial spirit and devoured it. Eventually, it was completely annihilated. But the heavenly ghost's strength, even when obliterated, remained intricately connected. This connection was key to the second step of refinement, as described in the Jade Slip. Failures in the second step were almost always due to the primordial spirit. It wasn't about a lack of the primordial spirit, but about the pain of its annihilation. This agony was beyond what an ordinary person could endure. Once the spirit relaxed, it would lead to death. Even if one didn't relax, they might still fail to reach the degree of connection where the body would have no spirit, but the spirit remained in one's thoughts. Only those with a strong, persistent obsession, like the obsession of reverse cultivation, could accomplish this. This is why cultivators with their own Tao concept had a higher success rate when creating immortal guards. After more than half a year, Wang Lin successfully created his first immortal guard puppet. Though the success rate for creating immortal guards was extremely low, his success wasn't by chance. Integrating the heavenly ghost and refining it with the primordial spirit ensured this. Even Wang Lin, unless using the scattered demon soul, wouldn't be able to create a second immortal guard. Wang Lin's face revealed a hint of excitement. He took a deep breath, calmed himself, and focused on the thin puppet before him, which faintly emitted a yellow glow. A seamless connection resonated in his mind. The creation of the immortal guard was strictly regulated by the immortal Emperor Qinglin. During this process, there were countless methods of control. Wang Lin used his primordial spirit's energy for refinement, and after a long period, his control over the puppet had reached its peak. Though the heavenly ghost was rebellious, it was eventually subdued and fused into the puppet's body through divine powers. Wang Lin squeezed out a drop of blood and flicked it onto the puppet's forehead. The blood emitted a red glow, merging into the puppet. Suddenly, the puppet's eyes opened. They were hollow eyes, yet they held a sharpness within them. The realm of yin-yang deficiency and fulfillment. Wang Lin's divine sense swept over the puppet, immediately sensing an aura akin to Situ Nan's level. While not as strong as Situ Nan, it wasn't far off. Wang Lin laughed heartily, deeply admiring immortal Emperor Qinglin. This person's intelligence was extraordinary, having created such a unique method for refining magical artifacts. Though the immortal guard can't use many divine powers because the primordial spirit is fused with the flesh, the divine powers in the Jade Slip were specifically designed for immortal guards. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. Moreover, I've prepared a special gift for this immortal guard. Wang Lin slapped his forehead, and instantly, a wave of gray energy appeared, transforming into millions of killing forces that surged into the puppet's body. The puppet's eyes immediately flickered with killing intent, flashing a few times before fading, but its gaze grew even sharper. Once done, Wang Lin tapped his storage pouch, and a jade slip flew out. With a flick of his hand, the slip pressed against the puppet's forehead. As it emitted flashes of light, the puppet's eyes seemed to flicker with runes. After a long while, the jade slip fell back to Wang Lin's side. Conceal, Wang Lin said calmly. The immortal guard's body shimmered and turned to nothingness, merging with Wang Lin's shadow. In the absence of light, no one could see its presence, but Wang Lin knew the immortal guard had hidden within his own figure. With the immortal guard's divine power, there's a 60% chance it can leave this place. Although this is a forbidden land, it's exactly because of that. It's safer here. Wang Lin's eyes showed a hint of contemplation. After a moment, he tapped his storage pouch again, and a large sword flew out. This sword was enormous, like a door plank. Colossal fortune, my first sword. What secret does it hold? Wang Lin gently ran his fingers along the sword's blade, calming his mind, as his consciousness slowly melded with it. An endless force of suction emanated from the deep pit, as if it sought to devour everything. Within the rift, Wang Lin sat cross-legged, staring into the inky blackness outside. His figure seemed to merge with the surrounding darkness, indistinguishable from it. Only the occasional flicker of lightning in his eyes, resembling thunderbolts, illuminated the rift. Being here, a profound sense of loneliness began to rise from the depths of his heart. It felt as though he had been cut off from the world, forgotten by everyone. The only companion left was the memory of the 800 years spent in cultivation. Lonely people always remember every person who has appeared in their lives. For Wang Lin, his loneliness grew richer with each passing memory. It was like hiding in a certain time, missing a moment of warmth, or retreating to a place, longing for someone who tugged at his heart. Are my parents' graves being tended to? Wang Lin murmured in the darkness. A small orb of faint white light hovered beside him. Its glow was so weak that it provided no illumination in this darkness. But above it, a warmth flowed into Wang Lin's heart as his gaze followed it, like a gentle whisper that softly filled the emptiness within him. Inside the orb, there was always a vague silhouette, quietly accompanying Wang Lin, enduring the surrounding darkness and the howling winds from beyond the rift. Even if the heavens collapsed and the earth shattered, even if seas dried up and mountains crumbled, that figure would remain, walking with Wang Lin through the vast sky, enduring even the cycles of reincarnation together. The rift remained cold and eerie, as though all warmth had been sucked away by the deep pit. Yet, the presence of the small orb kept the warmth in Wang Lin's heart alive, as if it would never fade, eternal in nature. Wang Lin, now fused with the darkness, gently raised his hand. The small orb slowly fell into his palm, its soft, flickering light making him feel a long-lost sense of happiness. Everyone's happiness is different. My happiness is to be with my parents, to be with Xun'er. A bitter look appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. This happiness was so precious, so difficult to attain. No one knew that here, in this land of demonic spirits, beneath the deep pit, in this rift, there was a person struggling against fate, feeling the collapse of his heart. Wang Lin had been sitting in this rift for 3 years. It wasn't that he didn't want to leave, but the suction force outside the rift had reached an unimaginable degree over these 3 years. More than 2 years ago, when Wang Lin stroked the colossal fortune, the suction inside the pit exploded like a storm, affecting half of the rift, which was several zhang wide. The Immortal Guard puppet's divine powers originally could have given him a 60% chance to escape, but the sudden eruption of the suction force reduced that chance to only 20%. Wang Lin did not feel despair. He simply faced the next 2 years with a calm heart. After reaching the peak of the first step of cultivation, his progress slowed significantly. After all, reaching the peak of the first step was the highest level in cultivation. The starry sky was vast, yet how many could truly reach this first peak? Apart from a few gifted individuals, who reached such heights without years of refinement. Wang Lin's talent was ordinary, and if it weren't for his unwavering Tao heart and unique experiences, he would have struggled to reach this point. The mid, late, and perfect stages of the first step had blocked countless cultivators, consuming the lifespans of many. They stood like 3 massive mountains in front of Wang Lin. During these 2 years, Wang Lin quietly absorbed the will contained within the colossal fortune. Inside it, there was a single sword technique, only one. The slashing luo technique. One day, when Wang Lin withdrew his mind from the colossal fortune, the treasure completely dissipated, as if it had completed its life's transmission and returned to where it belonged. The only thing that remained in Wang Lin's heart was the stunning technique he had comprehended over the past 2 years. From then on, what awaited Wang Lin was endless solitude and silence. Every day, he sat cross-legged like this, silently gazing at the rift outside, hearing the howling winds and seeing the darkness, motionless. A soft sigh came from Wang Lin's storage pouch. It opened automatically, and a scroll floated out. The scroll unfurled in midair, and within it, the silhouette of a woman slowly appeared. Wang Lin didn't look at the scroll. There was not the slightest change in his expression, only an endless calm. Just before the scroll appeared, he closed his hand around the small orb of soft light, which merged into his body. Go down. The woman's figure could not be seen clearly, but her voice gently echoed, drifting in the rift. Wang Lin didn't speak. Instead, he formed a sword with his fingers and slashed downward in front of him. The movement was simple, without any flourish, but within Wang Lin, it contained a strange state of mind. This simple slash immediately caused the scroll to fold, and no more sound came from it. Wang Lin withdrew his fingers and glanced at the painting scroll. With a wave of his right hand, he grabbed it in the air and tossed it into his storage pouch. Over the past 3 years, the woman in the painting scroll had appeared 4 times. Each time, it was the same. Her ethereal call echoed through the air. Wang Lin wasn't curious about what lay beneath the deep pit. His calm demeanor never wavered. He hadn't even looked a second time at the mysterious teleportation array on the large stone across from the crack. Before possessing sufficient strength, curiosity was the sharpest weapon, one capable of eradicating all existence. Wang Lin was waiting for the day when the suction from the deep pit outside the crack would weaken. The suction within this pit was erratic. Just as it had erupted suddenly 2 years ago, it could just as easily diminish in a few years. Everything required patience. In the darkness, there was a faint croaking sound beside Wang Lin. Looking down, his eyes flashed with lightning, illuminating the small cyan frog beside him, no larger than the size of his palm. This was the thunder frog. A year ago, the thunder frog had awakened. Since then, it had grown to its current size. The most affected by Wang Lin's thunder might and his primordial spirit, it had rejected entering the storage pouch as soon as it woke, choosing instead to stay by Wang Lin's side. Wang Lin rubbed his fingers together, and in an instant, a bolt of lightning shot out, heading straight for the thunder frog. The frog lazily blinked, its tongue suddenly shooting out to wrap around the lightning, pulling it back into its mouth, where it began to rumble in its belly. A look of contentment appeared on its face. Wang Lin closed his eyes, his mind sinking into his Tao intent. His Tao intent had 2 forms. The first was Tao Transformation Yellow Spring, and the second was Condensed Spring Soul. However, the so-called Spring Soul in the second form had originally only been condensed from the millions of souls on the soul banner. It still lacked a fatal killing aura. The heavenly ghost, though it carried a malicious aura, was not enough to become Wang Lin's Spring Soul, as it only had malice, not the true killing intent. A real Spring Soul isn't from a powerful soul. The simpler and weaker the soul, the more killing and fatality it holds. Wang Lin thought deeply. If I manage to leave this place, I will go to the mortal realm, extract the malicious aura from mortal souls, and refine it into my own netherworld soul. Wang Lin opened his eyes and stared at the outside of the crack. Slowly, he extended his right hand, his fingers reaching into the dividing line inside the crack. Though this dividing line was still within the crack, the suction beyond it already existed. As his fingertips passed the dividing line, he immediately felt a sharp pain as his flesh was pulled. The skin on his fingers seemed to ripple like waves, and even his nail felt as if it were being forcibly pulled. I, Wang Lin, am trapped here, but it has given me an opportunity, a chance to feel the force of heaven and earth, to form the third form of Tao transformation. Wang Lin's gaze was calm, but a glint of frost flickered in his eyes. But before that, I must eliminate the trouble within my body completely. Wang Lin withdrew his fingers, feeling nothing but numbness. He had stored the Slaughter Immortal art on the puppet just in case. Since Wang Lin understood this art, it had become an essential divine ability. Determined to leave no trace of it in his body, he had struggled to make it happen. During the practice of this art, Wang Lin had developed a killing heart within him. Initially, this killing heart had not changed. Even after transferring all the killing energy to the puppet, nothing seemed different. However, after 3 years, just a few months ago, Wang Lin clearly sensed a transformation in his killing heart. This change gave him a crazed feeling, similar to when he had consumed the ascension fruit, urging him to immediately withdraw the killing energy. Wang Lin's gaze flickered, and a decisive look appeared in his eyes. He stood up and stepped forward resolutely, crossing the dividing line with a single stride. Immediately, a tremendous suction tore at his body, trying to drag him out of the crack. Wang Lin's immortal power circulated as he slowly sat cross-legged, resisting the suction while silently observing its changes. The suction carried a chilling aura, which mingled with his body, circulating through his meridians. Though the coldness wasn't intense, his immortal power could easily disperse it. He remained seated for several days, sensing the shift in the suction. On the final day, Wang Lin took another step. This time, the suction was even stronger, and his blood seemed to flow slower, as though it was being pulled out of his body. Still not enough. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. Near the tidal corridor, swarming the deep pit, were countless vicious mosquito beasts. They dared not come too close, for the suction was so great that their bodies would be sucked into the pit if they got too near. Among these mosquito beasts was one that radiated a purple glow. As it flew, the other mosquito beasts scattered, and its screech caused them to tremble. However, this mosquito beast, glowing with a faint purple radiance, could not hide the anxiousness in its eyes as it paced around the edge of the deep pit for nearly 3 years. There were even several occasions when it wanted to rush into the pit, but every time, after glancing at its companions, it forcibly held itself back. Faint cries, filled with desperation, echoed from its mouth, reverberating around the surroundings. It was as if a lost child was calling out the name of its family, yearning to reunite.